rewatch, what were some things that stuck out to you?
Well, the the missed plays. At the end of the day, and I said it yesterday, we've got to run the ball better and we've got to stop the run better. Adding that to stopping the run better, we've got to tackle better. We on 3 of their big runs, we missed tackles. We missed tackles would probably kept them to anywhere between a 5 to 10 yard gain as opposed to the gains that they were. That's disappointing, and especially as a defensive coach, you'd like to believe we'd be better tacklers. On the offensive side, we missed a couple blocks. We had opportunities to make a block and we didn't make it. We had an opportunity to make a call to change a block and we didn't do that. We have to understand that we have to do our jobs. And as coaches, and like I always tell you guys, was there something we could have called different? There could have been, but we'll see.
Which play are you referencing? You're talking about missing the block.
I'm not worried about which players, but we know which players. The thing that we have to do is we've got to correct it. I'm not worried about assigning blame because they know who's going to be at fault. What we've got to do is we've got to go out and make sure those players get worked on, they get trained on, and they learn to do their job better.
David Tepper mentioned weeks ago he lost sleep after the Falcons game. For you as a head coach, going through this, what's your night like? What's your sleep regimen like? How does it affect you as a person and a human being out of here?
The truth of the matter is every loss you take personal. I take personal because I feel like I let a lot of people down. So do I sleep well? No, I don't. Do I think about a lot of things? Absolutely. Do I know how I get to work in the morning after a loss? No. All I know is I got in the car and next thing you know I'm at the stadium. Every one of them grinds me, and that's just the way it is because I feel responsible. And so I do lose a lot of sleep. And like I said, I do think about a lot of things, trying to get things corrected.
What has been the biggest challenge in finding consistency in some of these areas that you have addressed from week to week?
That's the hard part, is getting the consistency. And like I said, it'd be easy if it was just one particular person, because you can change that thing out. Or it's one particular thing and you can change it out. The hard part is sometimes when some of those things do occur, you feel like you've got the right thing going, and then all of a sudden somebody pops a gap, somebody misses a tackle, or like I said, maybe I could have called something different, or we could have called something different. That's the hard part, because you do know it's there, you do know what the situation is, you know what the circumstances are, and it's been like that, unfortunately, too many times this year.
Ron, you have told us in the past about conversations you would have with Jerry Richardson when times would get tough. Have you had any of those?
Yep, I've had plenty of those, and I've had them with Mr. Tepper. Mr. Tepper's been very fair and very honest, very open, and I really appreciate his support on things. But again, this is football. Like I've told you folks before, I get it, I understand it, and all I can do is control what I can, and that's we'll continue to work hard, we'll continue to practice hard, we'll continue to play hard. I mean, there's, this football team is a good young football team, it's developing, it's learning and growing. But that's no excuse, because I said, people talk about it's a process. Well, you know what? Eventually the process has to be over at some point in time, because if you keep talking about the process, you just handicap yourself because you're giving yourself an excuse. Now is no longer time for process. I mean, we're well into the last phase of the season. We've got to buck it up, step it up, and play football.
Ron, I know you don't generally use injuries and everything as an excuse, but when you look at an offensive line, I think the same starting offensive line only twice this year, maybe. 2 defensive tackles on IR, your quarterback, your kicker, all that. How much has that played into this year?
But you know what? It's about getting opportunities. And as I said, we've gotten a lot of good play from a lot of guys, and we've been close. I mean, at the end of the day, I told you guys yesterday, we've lost 4 games by a yard. You gain a yard at one point, and who knows what happens at that point. So again, it's just when you put yourself in position to win, you've got to be able to make those plays. And the biggest thing is it's about confidence, stepping up to the plate, and swinging for the fences. Well, stepping up to the goal line and knocking somebody over and getting into it. I mean, that's the thing that we've got to do, or prevent somebody from getting into it. We've got to step it up. I think we've got the players to do it. I still think we're in a dogfight. I know we've got 4 left to play. We start off with Atlanta, and we've got to focus in on them.
Talked about good young players and looking towards the future. Are there any guys that you think that might get a little bit of additional playing time over the next few weeks?
Well, we'll play everybody accordingly. We're playing to win every football game we can, and so we'll play accordingly.
Hey, Ron, excuse me. Tony Romo mentioned last week on the broadcast that he was concerned about you guys losing the point of attack on the defensive line because of some size issues, especially with Dontari out. A couple players mentioned maybe losing the point of attack against the run yesterday as well. What specifically do you guys do to fix that very specific facet of the game?
You try to move them. You try to run some run pressures. And I'll give you an example. We got hit on a run pressure, one of their runs. They caught us on it. And on that, we're trying to stunt to create a new point of attack, try to get our guys moving and getting them into creases. And, and the hard part is if they hit you a certain way, they can cut back on you from where you came from, and they got us on one. And like I said, that's probably one of those that if I looked at it again, maybe I call something different. But, you try to do things to help the guys, to get the guys some movement, put them in position to get into those creases so they can be stout and hold the point of attack.
Ron, I know you mentioned yesterday that there were a couple times in the game where the Redskins fumbled the ball or the ball was on the ground, and those missed opportunities. How frustrating watching back was to see those.
That was very frustrating, especially in a couple of those situations that we got the ball on the ground. We had a really good outside rush from Bruce. He knocked the ball down. Unfortunately, nobody saw it on the ground in time. They were able to recover it, and that's one of again that would have taken points off the board. There was another one where they had a running back exchange. The ball was on the ground. That was on their side of the 40 too. So there was an opportunity to put ourselves in scoring position. So that's the frustrating part. That's the hard part, because when you do get the ball bouncing, hopefully it'll bounce your way. You can recover it. But it's as I said yesterday too. That's football. I mean that's what's going to happen sometimes.
When you watched the tape from yesterday, what did you see from Ian Thomas?
I thought Ian did some nice things. He presented a really good target, got himself open, put himself in some of those vacant areas that allowed Kyle to get the ball to him. I thought he made good catches. One thing that you'd like him to understand is when you're going towards the sidelines, keep going and get out of bounds and save that clock as much as you can. That's one thing that you'd like to see the young guy do. I mean, again, he played well. He blocked well as well. I think he had 32 total plays and did his job and did it nicely.
How important is the blocking for him? Because I know that's such a huge part of Greg's game, and for him to kind of step up into that role.
Well, I think it's huge. He'll get an opportunity this week. That's for sure. That he's going to have to step up and do some things. And I think Chris Manhertz also will have to step up as well as Alex Arma. Because we're going to be looking to replace a guy that does a lot of things for us. I don't know where he is as far as the protocol is concerned, but we'll see as the week progresses.
Ron, I apologize if you addressed it already. On the fourth down play, what was Kyle's first read, and was it open?
Again, like I said, the biggest thing that we said is that we try to. I started to yesterday. We wanted to give him one area that we were going to flood, and on the backside, he had an individual route with DJ. He came out and looked at DJ quick first, and then he looked back inside, and I think he focused in on Curtis, and which you'd like to see him continue to work outside because he had Jarius. And again, it's an option. You come up, you got a guy pressing on your best receiver. There's an opportunity to throw the fade, and I think that's initially what he thought. As far as where his first read goes, again, he comes to the line of scrimmage, he checks it over, and then he makes his decision from there. It's something obviously that Norv and Scotty will be talking with him about, and as far as decision making and as far as going through your progression and getting to where you need to be. But again, it was designed pretty well. He could have thrown the fade because DJ did end up with a step on him. When he came back, Curtis actually ended up getting doubled for a second. Christian, drew the attention that he drew, and then Jarius just wandered off into the flat open. And if he could have gotten to that read quick enough, he could have gotten the ball out.
That play, though, doesn't exactly just stand alone. I mean, he's been hit all day. He had been sacked 6 or 7 times. He's been under pressure. It's kind of tough to go through your reads, put that in the back of your head. How do you do all that? I mean,
well, again, it's one of those things. Again, as you learn and become more and more competent and comfortable as a veteran, you'll understand how to get through that progression quickly. Whether it's looking at it going, okay, you know what, that even though he's pressed, that guy looked like he's going to give ground. Let me work the combination and get to that side faster. So again, as he grows as a quarterback, he'll learn these things. He's a young guy that does some really good things, that gives you an opportunity. I mean, this is the 4th game that he's put us in a position where we had a chance to win. So, he played well at times. He made some mistakes, and he's learning from those mistakes. And it's just a matter of him getting to 5,000 reps. I mean, it's you wish it could happen overnight, but it's not. I mean, he's a good young quarterback that's growing and developing.
Ron, given what you just said, I think I know the answer, but is he going to continue to start for you?
Absolutely. There's no reason not to. I think the young man competes. He's competitive. He's got a good handle of what we do. The players have confidence in him. You know, and again, we're just going to continue to compete. We believe that we have an opportunity. We've got to take advantage of it, go out and play to the best of our ability and see what happens.
Ron, you guys have taken a lot of pride in being a strong run defense.
Yep.
And obviously this year, it just hasn't been. When you look back and see, what things do you point at and say, why didn't it happen?
Well,
this year?
I think one of the things that you got to look at is, you know, and again, not looking for an excuse, but you lose K1 Short after the second game, and that's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough player to replace. But I thought some of our guys we had are pretty good football players. Got to tackle better, something that we've got to become better at. And then just, you know, being more disciplined and continue to work that way and grow that way. Because, again, as I said, you go back and look at those plays, and it's a guy popping a gap, a guy playing behind the ball, or a guy trying to gap in a half too soon, more so than anything else. And that's the thing that's got to get corrected more so is these guys got to learn it, got to understand it, and got to continue to play it.
Do you attribute any of it to changing over
No.
defenses?
Because for the most part, we play a tilt. And when you're playing a tilt, you're basically playing the same gaps. It's just different personnel. That's the biggest thing between a 3-4 and a 4-3, the personnel. We've got guys like Bruce and Mario that can play either the end or the outside backer position. We feel pretty stout with those guys. You know, the biggest thing you lose is you lose the 3 technique when you don't have a K1 Short.
Hey, Ron, we didn't get a chance to see Christian post-game yesterday. I was wondering if you had a chance to speak with him and how he evaluated himself and what he thought Washington was able to do effectively against him.
Well, I don't think just necessarily against him, but, you know, they after the second series, they got very aggressive. When you look at some of the things that they did, you know, they ran through a couple times on their backside creases. I think a couple of the pressures that they brought really kind of clogged things up as far as the outside running game was concerned. And, you know, when we get first down, we throw the ball, we can't miss those opportunities because you end up in second and long, 2nd and 10, you know, 2nd and 8, 7, something like that. That's not conducive to being successful on the run.
What are you going to be looking for at these final 4 games?
Well, in the Atlanta game, I'm looking for us to come out and play well and win a football game is what I'm looking for.
To the point of sticking with Kyle, you mentioned when you have 2 young quarterbacks, one doesn't get any reps. So
Right.
it'd just be unfair to put Will out there, and you have to stick with somebody to see any progress at all.
Right, but the nice thing for Will is even though he's handling the show team for the defense, he's done a great job and he's getting coached. Norva's constantly on him. He's constantly working with him and talking about what just happened. You know, talk to him about his footwork, talk to him about his posture, talk to him about, you know, his reads and getting off of that guy and going quick. So he's being coached up. The hard part, obviously, is that when you game plan for a specific quarterback. You really do. So if something were to happen, you know, now you got to sit there and you got to go through and say, okay, what does he know? So if he gets the opportunity at any point, you would know that the game plan would be specific to his skill set, to his abilities, to what he knows.
To that point, though, how important is it to stick with Kyle? Because if you don't, then you sell him short in the development process.
Exactly. It is about the development, and that's one of the big things is and we want to continue to develop Kyle as long as we can and as much as we can. You know, and who knows, at some point maybe Will does get opportunities, but right now, like I said, our focus is getting ready to, you know, play Atlanta, get after him, and win a football game.
About this point of the season in 2014, you guys made some changes where you put Trey in the lineup, Benet, I think Philly.
Yeah.
Are there any young guys you wouldn't mind getting more of a longer look at going forward?
No, because I think most of them have had, you know, have been forced into action to begin with. So I think we've got a good group of young guys that are getting a lot of reps. I like the reps that the young linebackers, outside linebackers, are getting. You know, I think some of the DBs, you know, they're getting a lot of opportunities. I think across the board, we're playing the guys that, you know, that we feel need to get some time, and we do have some young guys, obviously, that you know, may get a little bit more though. We're good. Cool. Thank you, guys.